Hey guys, welcome to the fourth edition of Women's Wrestling Focus, brought to you by SEScoops and hosted by me, Ella J, of a Wrestling Gal podcast. Now, we are here to talk all things Impact Knockouts division, especially coming off this amazing Impact Rebellion pay-per-view we just had, featuring two women's matches, one for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, which brought about new champions in mind, and the other for the Knockouts Championship itself, as Deonna Purrazzo defended and successfully retained her championships. Now, we've seen a lot happening in the Knockouts division lately with the departure of two of the Knockouts, but bringing in two new Knockouts as well. One former, actually, the returning Taylor Wilde. So, without further ado, let's get on with the video. Now, first of all, we have to talk about the departure of two Knockouts that were pretty key in the Knockouts division, especially in this last year. The one, we have to talk about Nevaeh. She left. Now, we saw her lose against her former tag team partner, Jessica Havoc, after she turned on her a few months ago. So that was a loss in and of itself. Impact Knockouts tag team division lost a huge team between the two. However, I am excited to see what Havoc can bring to the table during this newly found singles run. So I'm definitely intrigued to see where Jessica Havoc will go from here and where will Nevaeh end up now in wrestling. I'm very, very intrigued by that one. And also, we have to talk about the recent retirement, in Impact at least, of the phenomenal Jazz. Now, we saw a career versus title match at Hardcore Justice, which featured the legend Jazz putting her career and Impact on the line against the defending and reigning champion Deonna Purrazzo. And if Jazz won, she would become the new Knockouts champion. But if Jazz lost, she would have to retire from Impact for good. And so we ultimately saw the reigning, defending Knockouts champion Deonna Purrazzo retain in an incredible matchup. And that moment afterwards where Jordynne Grace came out and gave a sign of respect to Jazz is just fully telling of the impact, the literal impact that Jazz has had on not only on Impact, but I think on wrestling as a whole. And speaking with Jordynne myself, I do believe that the Knockouts themselves had a little celebration, a little party to celebrate the career of Jazz. So it's nice to know that Jazz herself is fully recognized and acknowledged, not only by fans, but by her peers that she's working with, that know that she is an incredible legend. And I'm super excited for this retirement tour that she's going on. I think we can get some real stellar performances on the independent scene right now, and potentially a lot of first evers between her and a lot of the independent female talent. I think this retirement tour for Jazz is going to be incredible, and I'm super excited, and she's ending it on her terms, and so what a perfect way to go out, to celebrate and go out on your own terms. And I'm super excited to see what Jazz has left up her sleeve, especially in this kind of last run of hers. Definitely a lot of respect in my book, for sure. But speaking of the Knockouts champion, Deonna Purrazzo, she also recently defended and retained her championship again this past weekend at Impact Rebellion against Tenille Dashwood. And Deonna had Kimberly and Su Yung, aka Susan, by her side, while Tenille had her kind of alliance member, Caleb, by her side. And so this one was a super fun matchup. We saw a lot of outside action between Susan, Caleb, and Kimberly, and so it was really, really fun. But ultimately, Deonna retained her championship and defeated Tenille. And afterwards, we obviously saw all the heels beat down Tenille as she lost that match. But then Taylor Wilde returned and kind of made a statement in her first, I guess, in-ring return back officially. And so now Taylor Wilde is now officially back in Impact after about 10 years. So it's cool of Impact to bring back some familiar faces, especially after we just had a few departures. They definitely needed some new rejuvenation in their Knockouts division, as we saw already mentioned, like the departure of Nevaeh and now Jazz, bringing back Taylor Wilde is a cool infusion of bringing back the past to now the present. So I'm super excited to see where Taylor Wilde goes from here. And it was cool of Taylor to call a little throwback to her original gear and bringing it back to today. I see you, Taylor. I see you. But bringing back Taylor Wilde, who is now a veteran in the situation, is definitely well needed, as somebody like a Jazz was a huge veteran in the locker room. So I think that Taylor Wilde can bring back a lot of wisdom and influence and make a big impact in the Knockouts division, especially now if she's inserting herself into the Knockouts Championship picture. This will definitely give Deonna Purrazzo a run for her money, but can't count out Deonna. She has been on an incredible run and tear ever since she returned last June in Impact. And so she's definitely taken the division and pretty much run it this last year since she returned. So I'm excited to see where they go from here. I think we're going to get an incredible feud between Taylor, and then obviously you'll get the insertion of Susan and Kimberly and Deonna. So I'm interested to see who's Taylor Wilde going to bring us back up. Are we going to see a face turn from Tenille Dashwood and perhaps back her up in her corner? We'll see. I'm super excited, though, for the Knockouts Championship picture. I think there has a lot of potential there to be something really, really special. But now, speaking about the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, this past weekend at Impact Rebellion, we saw the reigning champions Fire and Flava go against Jordynne Grace and a mystery partner, which turned out to be the queen of strong smile, Rachel Ellering. And so Rachel brings a lot of fun, energy, and spunk to this Knockouts division, and a lot of strength too. I think pairing her with Jordynne Grace is perfect. Obviously, we saw in their matchup, Jordynne Grace did phenomenal in that matchup. Everybody involved played their part very well, and we saw new champions arise between Rachel Ellering and Jordynne Grace, who now can call themselves the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions. So I definitely think we're going to be getting a rematch here between Fire and Flava against the new champions. I'm interested to see how well Rachel and Jordynne team together, as they're not an established tag team yet anyway. I think they do have the potential to grow and become a real formidable and cohesive tag team, especially now that Nevaeh is gone. So you obviously have Havoc and Nevaeh separated, since Nevaeh is gone and their tag team is diminished now. This brings about a new tag team in the division, as Impact definitely looks to grow and expand their Knockouts tag teams in the division itself, because right now you have Fire and Flava and you have Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering, but they don't really have anybody else, perhaps besides maybe Su Yung, Kimberly, and Deonna, somehow bringing in 2 out of 3 of them. We've seen it, but they haven't won a championship yet. So I think perhaps throwing in maybe like a Su Yung Susan. I think bringing in a Susan and a Kimberly vying for the championships, maybe in a triple threat against Fire and Flava, and Su Yung and Kimberly and the new champions. I think possibly that can be something they can work with. Or again, maybe they will bring in some other new knockouts. Maybe they could be former talents. We did just see some releases from WWE, and we saw a few faces teased in the Slammiversary trailer coming up for July. So it is very possible that we could be seeing more new faces, or perhaps old faces, familiar faces, inserted into the Knockouts division. So I have high hopes for the Knockouts tag team division as well, because I think it has so much potential to grow, especially now that they've officially brought back the Knockouts tag team championships, and you brought back a former Knockouts tag team champion in Taylor Wilde. So maybe we could see Taylor Wilde inserted somewhere in here if she can find a partner. I think that would be super fun. I think the Knockouts tag team division and the Knockouts championship picture both have really telling and prominent storylines right now. So I think both have the potential to be prominent and really captivating storylines if told correctly and booked correctly. But Impact normally does a great job with booking their talent, so I really don't have too many worries with the division going forward. I think Impact has been really fluid and really consistent in their booking of the women, and the women always put on stellar performances and always go out there and deliver. So really no complaints from me. I'm I'm really excited to see if anybody else is going to be returning to the Knockouts division, especially now that, like I said, we brought in Taylor Wilde, and now we have Rachel Ellering as well. Could we perhaps see some new signees coming in these next few months? Very possible, very likely. Perhaps we're going to get another shakeup in the Knockouts division coming soon. I'm just super excited to see what they are going to be able to do, especially now that we have new Knockouts Tag Team Champions with Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering. Where will they go from here? What do you guys think? Do you think that this will be a long, lengthy run for them? Or do you think that Fire and Flavor will recapture their championships? It's very possible. I could see it going either way, but nevertheless, I'm super excited. I am so proud of this Knockouts division for being so consistent and having great booking all around overall. The Knockouts division is definitely one of the best, if not the best in the world right now. So as long as they can keep up and trust their women to do their thing and continue forward with booking them properly and giving them the freedom to go out there and perform at the level that they are perfectly capable of, I think this Impact division this year is going to rise even further above. And I'm super excited for Slammiversary coming up in July. We could potentially see some surprises. It was teased, so who knows? But nevertheless, I'm super excited. Impact is doing incredible things, and I hope you all enjoyed Impact Rebellion as much as I did, because the women showed up and showed out, to be perfectly honest. They did amazing, and I'm so proud of them. I'm so happy for all the women going forward in this division, seeing it grow so much over these last few years consistently, and they always do great. It's amazing, impeccable. And so I'm excited to see where they go from here. Another looming question, though, is when will Susan turn on Deonna and Kimberly? Because it's been teased a little bit. We saw Susan turn into Su Yung a few weeks ago at Hardcore Justice. So will we potentially see a full-time return from Su Yung or even Susie? I think Su Yung /Susan/Susie has done incredible things throughout the evolution of her character, and I'm loving this run from right now with this like kind of pantsuit Susan. It's so amazing to see her do her thing, and especially it's just one of those trios that I didn't know I needed in my life until it was actually brought into fruition. So I'm loving what they're doing with Susan. I think it's only a matter of time, though, where Susan potentially turns back to Su Yung and vies to win her championship back, which she was the Knockouts champion late last year before Deonna defeated her again. So that about wraps up this edition of Women's Wrestling Focus. Thank you so much all for tuning in, and don't forget to comment down below. What are your thoughts on the current state of the Knockouts division? We obviously have new Knockouts Tag Team Champions, and Deonna Purrazzo is still definitely running this division, so I'm super excited to see what she's doing and what she has coming up. But what are your thoughts? Let us know down below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to SEScoops YouTube channel, and you can follow me on Twitter at It's Ella J. So this is Ella J on behalf of SEScoops. Thank you all for tuning in to the 4th edition of Women's Wrestling Focus, making an impact.